Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the kitchen. It is fantastic to have you here, as always. And this afternoon, we're going to go old school. We're going to go back to the future. We're going back to the 1980s. We're going to make coffee and walnut cake. Okay, let's talk about this old school classic coffee and walnut cake. How 1980s is that? Surely nobody would make a coffee and walnut cake today. But you know, the reason it endures is the combination of that bitter coffee with the sugar and the sweetness from the walnuts and the icing is an incredible combination. You're going to absolutely love it. Let's jump in and take a look at the ingredients. Okay, let's talk about the ingredients for this amazing coffee and walnut cake. We've got 175 grams of self-raising flour and we have got about 12 grams, it's about a tablespoon and a half of ground coffee. We've got a teaspoon of instant coffee that we're going to mix with some hot water shortly to make a paste. We've got 3 medium eggs. We have got 50 grams of walnuts. These are whole. I'm going to grind them later because we need them ground. We need 150 grams of caster sugar and a pinch of salt. I've got about 2 grams in there. And finally, we're going to need 150 grams of butter. We're using unsalted, which is why I'm putting in the pinch of salt. Let's jump in and get these all combined. Okay, so everything's going to happen right here in the stand mixer. I'm going to go straight into the bowl with all of that butter that I have cubed and all of the sugar. And we are going to stick that on there. And we'll go in also with the ground coffee. And we will put the K-beater on with the silicone side and we will start to mix that. We'll start it on a slow speed and the idea here is to cream it all together into something that's nice and light and fluffy. There we go. Just bring the speed up there. So as you know, you've seen me do this before. This is going to take 2 or 3 minutes. We'll whiz through this on the video and we'll come back to you when this is all creamy and lovely. Okay, that is looking awesome. I'm just going to give it a little scrape down. You'll notice it's starting to go paler, which is exactly what we want. And turn that back on for another blitz. Okay, that's looking awesome. So I've turned the speed down. I'm going to go in with all of the ground walnuts from earlier. That little bit of salt. And then we've got the instant coffee here. I'm just going to add a little bit of hot water. And give that a stir. Beautiful. And that can go in as well. Okay, so we're going to keep it running. I've got all of the eggs here in a jug. I'm just going to give them a whisk to mix them. And I'm going to go in with a little bit of egg. And then to stop it splitting, I'm going to put in a couple of dessert spoons of flour, and then we'll go in with a bit more egg and a bit more flour, and I basically just keep repeating this until I've used up all of the egg and all of the flour. Okay, we'll get that turned off, drop him into there, move the stand mixer out of the way. And then we can just, the most difficult bit with these K-beaters is getting them clean afterwards. And then just using the spatula, I'm just going to mix in those final bits from the side that didn't quite get incorporated. Okay, super. So now I need to get the cake tin. So what I did earlier, I've got a 21 centimetre springform tin here. I've buttered the sides and I've stuck some greaseproof paper down at the bottom, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this mixture into that tin. There is not really a non-messy way of doing this. Okay, and then just using a small canted palette knife, I'm just going to quickly whip round and level it out in the tin. It doesn't have to be perfect because it will level itself once it gets into the oven. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, oven's been preheating for about the last 30 minutes at 200 degrees. We're straight in to the middle of the oven, and I'm going to turn it down to 180. And we're going to bake it for 30 minutes. So we'll see you shortly. Okay, that's it, we're done. Whoa! Look at that, absolutely beautiful. So what we are going to do is leave this to cool down in the tin for about 30 minutes or so, and then we'll get it out and we'll get on to the next stage. Okay, so let's make the frosting for this delicious coffee and walnut cake. You're going to need 200 grams of full fat soft white cheese. We're using Philadelphia. You're going to need 400 grams of icing sugar, about a tablespoon of instant coffee, 50 grams of butter that we're just going to slightly melt, and a little squeeze of vanilla paste. So let's get on and make the frosting. Okay, so the Philadelphia and the icing sugar are in the bowl. I'm going to use this electric hand beater. You can do it on the stand mixer. Both are equally messy, but if you just do this on a slow speed, you have a chance of getting it done without filling your kitchen with clouds and clouds of icing sugar dust. So just a nice slow speed, and you will bring it together. Lovely job. Okay, and if we just turn that off now that that is combined, I can go in with a good squirt of vanilla, like that, and I can also just get the coffee and add a tiny bit of hot water just to dissolve that. Just mix that in to make a paste, and we can get that in as well. And then we can go back to mixing still, nice and slowly. Look at that colour, absolutely beautiful. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to add the butter, and I've just melted the butter briefly, and I've let it cool slightly because you don't want the butter to be too hot. And what I'm going to do is just, again, nice slow speed, and I'm going to drizzle this butter in. There we go. And now once that's in, I can just turn it up to a slightly higher speed, just for the final, the final mix. That is looking fabulous. So we will set that to one side and grab the cake and get it frosted. Okay, so here's our cake from earlier. Just ping the sides, get rid of the spring form, and then we just want to flip it over and gently give it a twist to release the base, and then we can peel off that bit of baking parchment from earlier, and we're now going to place this on the final serving tray. So what I'm looking for here is something kind of rustic. I don't want this to be super smart, so I'm going to just allow this frosting just to drizzle over the top. And what I actually want it to do is to just start slightly gliding down the sides. So looks like it's going to be doing exactly that. Okay, so I am going to just artfully arrange a few walnuts around the edge. There we go, a nice rustic looking ring. Absolutely fabulous. I'm going to leave this now to finally cool down, pop it in the fridge, let the frosting set up a bit, and then we'll be ready to cut into it and take a look. Can't wait. Okay, that's it, we're done. It's been another long day in the kitchen. Let's cut into this beautiful cake and see what all the fuss is about. Old school, back to the 80s. You can't beat it. I'm only going to have a small bit. Oh, look at that bad boy. That looks incredible. So, the moment of truth. It's amazing. It's delicious. You've got walnuts, you've got coffee. It's sweet, it's moist. You are absolutely gonna love this one. A real blast from the past. Perfect with a cup of tea in the afternoon or as a classic dessert. So I hope you've enjoyed following along with us today. If you have, please consider hitting that subscribe button, give us a like, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.